Welcome to AK Anime Explainer. Today is explanation of Soul Land 3, Legend of the Dragon King Part 114. Without any delay, start explanation. Tang Wulin's arms began moving faster and faster, his hammers thundering down upon the titanium crystal like a raging storm. Although forging hammers didn't have a standard weight, hammers were generally better if they weighed more. Tang Wulin's hammers certainly weren't light. In spite of that, he swung them easily, his arms resembling a windmill as he continuously struck the titanium crystal. Crisp metallic notes resounding throughout the arena, and the sound soon began ringing out so fast that they blended together to form one clear, everlasting note. The music of a craftsman filled the air. It was a wondrous experience for everyone in the audience. Tang Wulin circled the metal as he forged it, continuously adjusting the angle of his strikes, but as time passed, no change seemed to occur to the titanium crystal's mass. It was almost as if Tang Wulin's strikes were too soft. Can you even call that forging? Many of the spectating blacksmiths doubted Tang Wulin's forging method. Although they were shocked by how precise Tang Wulin's control was, they didn't see how such light taps could be effective for refining the metal. Is he just using a flashy technique to try and show off? All that matters in the end is how much he can purify the metal. He's only got 30 minutes. There's no way he'll be able to finish in time with such a gentle forging technique. Tang Wulin's forging astonished He Xiaopeng as well. The rhythmic hammering sent shivers down his spine, but a moment later, he regained his wits and turned his attention back to his own table. The worst thing that could happen when two blacksmiths forged in close proximity was one being disturbed by the other. He Xiaopeng was just a youth, but he had started blacksmithing at a young age. His foundation as a blacksmith was impressive, and he easily pushed any distractions out of his mind. He made himself deaf to Tang Wulin's hammering and focused on his own work. Of all the blacksmiths present, only Feng Wuyu subtly nodded in approval of Tang Wulin's actions, a proud smile forming on his lips. Why is he forging like that? Shuosha couldn't help but ask Feng Wuyu. He may have been the powerful Scarlet Dragon Dolor, but he knew little more than the next person when it came to blacksmithing. At that moment, possibly because he was overcome with pride in Tang Wulin, Feng Wuyu didn't just outright patronize Shuosha. Look carefully. It might look like Wulin is forging it very gently, but each strike carries just enough force to penetrate the titanium crystal. Although it hasn't reduced in size, the golden threads inside the metal are being manipulated, almost as if he were spinning silk from it. He's straightening the golden threads first so he can find the veins and life source of the titanium crystal. Once he accomplishes that, he will then awaken its spirit. He's forging it from inside out. This is the most suitable forging method for a high-quality metal like titanium crystal. Of course, laymen like you would never have heard of this. Only blacksmiths rank 5th and above are capable of using this technique, and even then, not everyone can do it. Feng Wuyu chuckled with satisfaction. Just you wait. You'll see how skilled my disciple is. Shuosha rolled his eyes at Feng Wuyu's smug expression, but didn't bother responding. He was just happy that someone knew how talented his grand disciple was. And Feng Wuyu was right. Anyone watching closely would be able to see the golden threads within Tang Wulin's piece of titanium crystal gradually transforming. The rough edges of the metal started becoming smooth, and most importantly, the golden threads shone brighter and brighter as he continued to hammer the metal. It was then that He Xiaopeng finally started his forging process. He pushed the button on the table and a glowing hot piece of titanium crystal appeared. Unlike Tang Wulin's piece, the golden threads within He Xiaopeng's couldn't be seen at all. It simply looked like a ball of fire. A pair of pitch-black hammers appeared in He Xiaopeng's hands, and he struck with both hammers. Two thundering bangs resounded throughout the arena. The titanium crystal quivered from the impacts, but thanks to the calcining process, it didn't shatter. He Xiaopeng continued forging like so. His method was no different from what other blacksmiths considered the norm. His hammers descended like lightning, the boom of each strike ringing out in unison. While Tang Wulin's forging sounded like the pitter-patter of symphonic rain, He Xiaopeng's was a raging thunderstorm. Each and every one of his strikes rumbled. One blacksmith worked as fast as possible while the other progressed slow and steady. Their forging styles were on the opposite ends of the spectrum. The blacksmiths in the audience guessed that Tang Wulin was using some special forging technique, but they couldn't fathom why he chose a different method from He Xiaopeng. Hey! Zheng Yiran nudged Yang Nianxia, who stood beside her. If it were you, would you do the same thing as Tang Wulin? Yang Nianxia answered in a hushed tone. I would do what He Xiaopeng is doing. He's relying on the strength of his hammer strikes to untangle the golden threads within the titanium crystal and purify it. However, this method is difficult to us because of the metal's strength and brittleness. The titanium crystal has to be heated to a really high temperature, and one has to have perfect control over their hammers to use that method. If He Xiaopeng uses too much strength, the metal will shatter. Too little strength, and nothing will happen. It takes a lot of skill and practice to control hammers that well. He's definitely a better blacksmith than me. He should be a 4th-rank blacksmith. This will definitely be a good show. What about Tang Wulin? Zheng Yiran asked. Yang Nianxia furrowed his brow. I can't make sense of what he's doing. It might be accurate to say he's using gentleness to forge the hardness, but I'm not sure why he's doing that for titanium crystal. He probably has his own reasons. You sure have a lot of faith in his skills. Zheng Yiran raised an eyebrow. Are you sure we won't lose this match? Yang Nianxia smiled wryly. I've always thought of myself as crafty, but the class president is just downright two-faced. That guy doesn't do anything if he isn't confident he'll succeed. Besides, blacksmithing is his forte. He can even forge a spirit alloy for a piece of one-word battle armor. Do you really think he could lose? To me, that's impossible. Oh, right. Don't you know? He's a 5th-rank blacksmith. I'm not a blacksmith. How would I know? Zheng Yiran began to stare at Yang Nianxia in astonishment as this news registered in her mind. Wait, where'd you hear that? Do you really need to ask? He has a spirit alloy. It normally takes a 6th-rank blacksmith to forge a spirit alloy. There's no way he's at the 6th rank, so he's got to be at the 5th. He is really talented after all. 5th rank. The thought made Zheng Yiran feel shame. Tang Wulin was only in the 1st grade, yet he was a 5th-rank blacksmith. Never before in Shrek Academy history had a blacksmith as talented as him appeared. And, out of all the professions, it was the hardest to advance as a blacksmith. Seconds ticked by, and soon enough, 15 minutes had passed for Tang Wulin. He only had another 15 remaining. Judging by how much smaller each titanium crystal had become, He Xiaopeng was the clear winner. His piece had shrunk by 1/10 of its original size, and it showed no signs of cracking. This was a testament to his skill. In contrast, Tang Wulin's piece was now orange, but it hadn't shrunk at all. Indeed, such gentle strikes couldn't possibly reduce the titanium crystal's mass. Tang Wulin didn't look concerned. His entire being was focused on forging, his eyes narrowed as he swung his hammers at a steady pace. All of a sudden, an ear-splitting boom shook the arena as He Xiaopeng slammed his hammers into his titanium crystal one final time. A beam of brilliant golden light shot out of it, reaching a foot into the air. It had been 1st-grade 1000 refined with spirit. Cries of astonishment echoed from off-stage. The appearance of the beam of light signaled a successful 1000 refining, and a 1st-grade one at that. A 1st-grade 1000 refined metal simply couldn't be compared to normal metal. He Xiaopeng put away his hammers and stepped back. His chest moved up and down as he worked to catch his breath. The beam of light persisted for a few seconds, then gradually dispersing. He Xiaopeng was now finished forging. All he needed to do now was let the metal slowly cool down from its glowing red state. He Xiaopeng's titanium crystal had become 20% smaller than before. The originally tangled mess of golden threads inside of it had also been transformed into a uniform sheet of brilliant light. A resplendent golden aura shimmered around the metal. There was no doubt that it was 1st-grade 1000 refined. He Xiaopeng put away his hammers and smiled in satisfaction. He understood that this was the limit of his abilities right now. Despite being under a lot of pressure today, he was able to bring the entirety of his ability to bear. It wasn't easy to first-grade 1000 refined titanium crystal in a mere half hour, yet he had pulled it off perfectly. For the current him, this was a masterpiece. Xin Yi and Wu Zhongkong furrowed their brows. In their eyes, He Xiaopeng had just claimed victory. He had started forging later than Tang Wulin, but still finished first-grade 1000 refining the titanium crystal first. Tang Wulin couldn't win with a first-grade 1000 refining anymore, and they knew that was his limit. Even if he succeeded in first-grade 1000 refining his piece, he would still lose to He Xiaopeng. Time passed by slowly. Tang Wulin continued forging, his focus just as intense as it had been when he began. Apart from developing a slight orange hue, no other visible changes had occurred to his piece of titanium crystal. The internal workings of the metal remained obscured. Wu Zhongkong knew Tang Wulin was a genius blacksmith, but he didn't understand exactly what that meant. He only knew that Tang Wulin came from a poor family. Could it be that he's never forged titanium crystal before? The thought cast a shadow of worry over his heart. This was the first match of the competition between the two grades, the one they should have had the highest chance of winning. If they lost this match, the first grade's morale would plummet, and their faith in Tang Wulin would waver. Now, there was nothing they could do but believe in him and pray that he performed a miracle. As the time limit approached, the banging of Tang Wulin's hammers became more intense. He Xiaopeng watched him attentively. Even as a fellow blacksmith, he couldn't figure out what Tang Wulin was doing. At this point, no matter how he looked at the situation, Tang Wulin couldn't possibly surpass him. 10 seconds left. Although Xin Yi felt anxious, she acted as a proper referee and began the countdown. 9, 8, 7, 6. A bead of sweat ran down a first-grade student's forehead. 5. Some fidgeted anxiously. 4. Another gulped. 3. In that split second, Tang Wulin's entire being seemed to grow taller, and he ferociously slammed his hammers down onto the metal. A draconic roar exploded from his body, a golden light emerging from it. The light shot into the orange piece of titanium crystal before him. It trembled for a moment, then its exterior peeled apart like the skin of a tangerine. A brilliant golden glow emerged from the titanium crystal, then shot into the air as a luminescent beam of light. The same instant that beam shot out of the metal, Tang Wulin turned into a ball of golden light. The draconic roar continued to reverberate in the air, a faint illusion of a golden dragon's head phasing into existence behind him. The ethereal dragon head opened its maw and turned it to the sky, almost as if the thundering roar had been coming from it all along. In a blaze of resplendent gold, the titanium crystal spirit ascended. Compared to the beam of light that came from He Xiaopeng's piece, Tang Wulin's piece generated a beam that was 5 times taller. The golden light stretched a full 5 feet into the air, and at its very apex a dragon's head could be vaguely seen. It looked exactly the same as the dragon head floating behind Tang Wulin. It even faced the sky and roared in the same way. Tang Wulin smiled softly. After winning the representative selection tournament and being accepted as the class president, his mind, body, and spirit had come into harmony. He was in peak condition, and as a result, he was capable of creating a work that surpassed his current skills. Today, at this very moment, he had succeeded in doing just that. Now everyone could see just how bizarre Tang Wulin's piece of titanium crystal was. It was a perfect sphere, the golden threads from before nowhere to be seen. In their place was a plain golden ball. The vein-like lines within the ball were finely organized into a blanket of gold, as if it had been sewn from the golden threads. It was clear that Tang Wulin's skill far surpassed He Xiaopeng's. What happened next, however, shocked everyone to their very cores. The body of the titanium crystal began to shrink until it was 2/3 its original size. The crowd went wild with disbelief. How can this be? What kind of forging is this? It's amazing. A figure dropped from the sky, landed on stage, and smacked Tang Wulin in the back of his head. What the hell are you dilly-dallying for? Hurry up and finish it. Its spirit has formed, so you'll definitely succeed if you spirit refine it. Do you still need me to teach you this? If you waste this piece of titanium crystal, I'll make sure you don't get any sleep tonight. Tang Wulin rubbed the back of his aching head and looked up to see the furious Feng Wuyu. Its spirit has formed? Oh, it really has. He had never seen such a light from 1,000 refining, but Feng Wuyu had lectured him on this. 1,000 refining with spirit referred to bringing the spirit out of a metal by 1,000 refining, but spirit refining would grant life to the metal. However, once the spirit formed from 1,000 refining, signifying that the metal's life force was on the verge of awakening and only needed one last push to fully awaken. This meant that spirit refining was practically guaranteed to succeed. This was why it was said that the formation of a spirit would lead to spirit refining. Tang Wulin didn't dare talk back to Feng Wuyu. Ignoring the small lump of pain gathering at the back of his head, he took a deep breath and stepped forward, preparing to swing his hammers again. Elder Feng. He Xiaopeng bowed to Feng Wuyu. As a blacksmith in the 2nd grade, it was only natural that he was a member of Shrek Blacksmiths Association and recognized Feng Wuyu. Feng Wuyu's fury died down as he turned to address He Xiaopeng. Your performance today was not too shabby, but you still have a long ways to go. Keep working hard. You have a good foundation, but your metal lacks in spirit. You need to deepen your understanding of metals. Even after giving these few words of advice, he showed no intention of getting off the stage. Up on the platform for the elders, Xinyi turned to Elder Cai. What do we do now? Just when they thought Tang Wulin lost, he produced a miracle. However, Feng Wuyu then went on stage, which was clearly against the rules. Elder Cai glanced at her, then went back to looking at the stage. Let him continue forging. This match is the 1st grade's win. We'll push the 2nd match back a little. Xinyi walked over to Elder Cai, and in a hushed tone, she said, if we let Tang Wulin continue forging, he's going to be exhausted afterward. He still needs to participate in a team battle later, and he's one of his team's pillars. It's... The Holy Spirit Dolor smiled and interrupted her. Don't worry about it. I'll take care of him. Xinyi hastily nodded in agreement, saying no more. She turned her attention back to Tang Wulin, who was already back to forging at full speed. Tang Wulin's hammers glowed with soul power. Gone was the gentleness from before. They came down upon the titanium crystal like an endless, crashing waterfall, thundering booms now shaking the arena. The explosions of sound were further amplified by the stacked hammers effect. Upon being 1,000 refined, his hammers were capable of drawing on his soul power. However, after being spirit refined, they could now use his soul power to its fullest potential. Soul power surged through Tang Wulin's body like roaring waves. He didn't hold any part of himself back. Compared to his first spirit refining, he now had enough soul power to spare. Even if he did run out of soul power, he still had the power of his bloodline at his disposal. In addition to that, the 2 bin buns he had previously eaten roused his blood. He could take advantage of that to reverse the flow of his blood, the technique that had helped him complete Golden Dragon Shocks the Heavens and defeat Wusidwa. After successfully activating Golden Dragon Shocks the Heavens and reversing his blood flow, Tang Wulin perfected the technique and could now use it on command. In doing so, his blood essence became 30% stronger, and when he used Golden Dragon Shocks the Heavens, his power doubled. As of now, his strongest attack consisted of his Dragon Claw, his Gauntlet, and Golden Dragon Shocks the Heavens. Tang Wulin had long since been able to harness the power of his bloodline to reduce his stamina consumption, improving his forging efficacy. Spirit refining titanium crystal was nothing to him now. He could use his blood essence as a substitute for his soul power, and doing so would also increase his chances of successful spirit refining a metal. During the past few days of forging alloys, he noticed that his success rate had increased. It was clear to him that the bond between metal and blood essence was deeper than the one between metal and soul power. After that discovery, Tang Wulin's level of forging entered a whole new realm. He didn't increase in rank, but his success rate soared. This was the reason why he could forge the titanium crystal so perfectly today. Tang Wulin's hammers rained down on the titanium crystal. The golden ball inside of it grew brighter with each heavy hit, growing larger as the crystal that encased it became smaller. This was a truly bizarre scene to behold. It looked as if he were actually granting life to the metal. Everyone knew that titanium crystal was spirit refined the moment that only its gold remained. Titanium gold had an astronomical value. It was one of the top 10 metals and could be reforged into an alloy. Forget normal soul masters, even titled Duluos desired such a metal. All who were not yet full-word battle armor masters would. A single piece of titanium gold could drastically boost the toughness and other properties of battle armor. It was an absolute treasure. Titanium crystal was rare, but finding titanium gold was like spotting a unicorn. A piece once appeared in an auction and sold for a whopping 80 million coins. It was so rare that it didn't have a set market value. Tang Wulin had imbued the metal with his blood essence as he forged. He was the only one who could finish forging it now. If that weren't the case, Feng Wuyu would have jumped in to finish it himself. No one would pass up an opportunity to obtain some titanium gold. Even with Feng Wuyu's cultivation level and status as a 3-word battle armor master, only 3 pieces of his battle armor had titanium gold infused in them. Feng Wuyu balled his hands into tight fists. You have to succeed. Tang Wulin's soul power depleted rapidly as he forged the titanium crystal. Every strike of his hammer sent a burst of soul power into the titanium crystal, reducing its size and granting it life. Titanium crystal was much faster to spirit refine than other metals. However, this speed came at the cost of increased soul power consumption during the refining process. The amount of consumption was so shocking that Tang Wulin couldn't keep up. Only 15 minutes had passed by the time Tang Wulin's soul power ran out. As soon as it did, his 3 purple soul rings disappeared and a resplendent golden one took their place. Tang Wulin called his blood essence forth in a surge of awesome power, activating golden dragon body as an intense, draconic roar resounded from deep within him. Anyone with sharp eyes would see golden scales shimmering faintly in the air around him. From his seat on the platform that overlooked the arena, Shuosha gawked at Tang Wulin. He succeeded. That brat succeeded at learning my dragon shocks the heavens with just 3 soul rings. I had to wait until I had 5 rings before I could refine my bloodline to half that of a true dragon's and complete it. No wonder he can forge like that, he's using the power of his bloodline to supplement his forging. Golden light streamed from Tang Wulin's spirit-refined heavy silver hammers as his blood essence coursed through them. The golden ball on the forging table before him shrank rapidly as he continued to forge. He could feel the connection between the metal and his bloodline growing deeper and more intense. The titanium crystal was an infant about to be born and on the verge of gaining awareness. Tang Wulin could feel his blood essence roar within him. It was being consumed at a much slower pace than his soul power had been. He allowed its flow to reverse, feeling no need to really control it. The aura of his blood essence immediately grew thicker, a warmth spreading throughout his body. Boom after boom filled the air. The song of Tang Wulin's forging now followed the same tune as He Xiaopeng's had. In fact, it was even louder. The titanium crystal grew brighter with each strike, the golden ball rapidly filling the space that the crystal of the metal previously occupied. What? He's about to succeed at spirit refining? He's actually a 5th-rank blacksmith? He Xiaopeng stared at Tang Wulin in shock. At the age of 17, he was the oldest student in the 2nd grade. He always thought himself a prodigy for becoming a 4th-rank blacksmith at the age of 17. Yet Mu Shi, being a 4th-rank blacksmith herself, transferred in and showed him that wasn't the case. If she hadn't transferred in late, she might have threatened his position as blacksmith representative of the 2nd grade. Even before this match, some said she should go up instead of him. They had believed it impossible for the 1st grade to win and thought it would be a good chance for her to show off her skills. In the end, however, the teacher had settled on him being the one to go up, saying that the 1st grade had an extremely talented blacksmith. He Xiaopeng hadn't minded the teacher's words back then, but he hadn't looked down on his opponent either. He believed that, as long as he did his best, victory was certain. Yet reality had played out differently. He Xiaopeng had performed to the very best of his ability today, even surpassing his limits a bit. He had been completely satisfied with the result. But then Tang Wulin did the impossible. He's still young. He can't be more than 15, much younger than me, yet he can actually spirit refine. I don't even know when I'll be able to." In the audience, a pair of shining eyes stared at Tang Wulin in astonishment. These eyes belonged to Mu Shi. Mu Shi knew Tang Wulin was a 5th-rank blacksmith, but this was her first time seeing him spirit refine. He really can do it. That golden light should be his blood essence. I can't believe it's already so strong. He's even more amazing than before. As Tang Wulin's senior sister, no one understood his blacksmithing skill and his comprehension level better than her. She had been absolutely certain that Tang Wulin would be the first grade's blacksmith representative, so she hadn't fought He Xiaopeng for their own grade's position. She didn't want to compete with Tang Wulin because she never won against him before, and she knew this time would be no different. Mu Shi's smile grew wider and wider as she watched him forge. He's advanced step by step, and now he's able to spirit refine titanium crystal. Is there anything he can't do? Fortunately, none of her classmates paid any attention to her. They were all focused on the spectacle happening on stage. If some had seen her face, they surely would have doubted which side she was on. Tang Wulin brought his hammers down upon the titanium crystal once more. They struck the metal, sending a thundering tremor through the arena and everyone present. The golden light around Tang Wulin began to fade, and all of a sudden, a crack appeared in the titanium crystal. Everyone stared at the metal, eyes wide. A crack? There's a crack in it. Did he actually fail? The crack spread. The process was slow at first, the first crack slowly giving way to another, gradually making its way across the surface of the crystalline metal like a web being patiently spun. Yet that patience was soon forgotten. Cracks quickly ran rampant across the metal ball, branching off into 2, then 4, then 8, until a myriad of them completely covered the ball. Then, after a tense moment, the crystal broke apart. Thin translucent flakes fell away from the ball one by one, each coming to rest atop the forging table to reveal a flawless golden ball that exuded life. The Holy Spirit Doluo could clearly feel the life force within the metal. She nodded imperceptibly, a warm smile forming on her lips. Or filled her eyes. The golden ball resembled a bird that had just hatched. It slowly floated up into the air, then it began circling Tang Wulin like a baby bird greeting its mother, breaking the silence of the arena with cheerful humming. Tang Wulin smiled. He had granted this metal life and sentience. He had succeeded at spirit refining before, but the product hadn't been anywhere near as intelligent as this golden ball before him. This was his first time seeing such intelligent spirit-refined metal. It was a miracle. Tang Wulin raised his hand and the golden ball landed into his palm. It hummed softly in his hand, nuzzling his palm affectionately. Tang Wulin's face twitched. If every piece of spirit-refined metal is like this from now on, could I bear giving them away? It feels like it's my own child. At that moment, Feng Wuyu spoke up. Disciple. Why don't we discuss some things? Tang Wulin looked up to see a sleazy smile on his teacher's face. Okay. As long we don't talk about my titanium gold, I'm fine with anything. It's bound to me through my blood essence, so giving it to you would be a waste. You stinking brat! Feng Wuyu smacked the back of Tang Wulin's head, but eventually revealed a helpless smile. This kid really doesn't care about how I feel. Tang Wulin smirked. Teacher, I've already delayed the competition long enough. I need to go down and rest. I'll visit you in the evening. Feng Wuyu nodded, still unable to hide his smile. Tang Wulin had bestowed life onto the titanium crystal. He had succeeded in spirit refining it into titanium gold. He was no longer a 5th-rank blacksmith in name alone. Although he had focused solely on forging alloys since reaching this rank, it had imperceptibly influenced his refining ability, particularly his control and perception. Feng Wuyu had no right to be fussy with such a talented disciple. The match is over. Tang Wulin of the 1st grade is the winner, Shen Yi declared. The result had long since been clear to everyone, but this made it official. He Xiaopeng quietly descended from the stage while Tang Wulin returned to his classmates amidst their cheers. Tang Wulin flashed a smile at his classmates, then gestured to Shulishi. Upon seeing that signal, Shulishi jogged over and handed Tang Wulin some pork buns he had prepared beforehand. Tang Wulin devoured them, then sat down cross-legged to meditate. Spirit refining the titanium crystal had drained him, but he would soon have to go up for the team battle. He had to take every moment he could to recover. The second match will be fought through mecha designing, Shinyi announced. Would the representatives please come up? The students of the second grade could hardly believe that they lost the first match, but they weren't too concerned. He Xiaopeng had still put on a splendid performance. Tang Wulin was just a freak of nature. He Xiaopeng never had a chance. Ji Yu looked at Tang Wulin for a moment, her eyes slightly narrowed, then took the stage. Ji Yu's opponent took the stage as well. She was a tall and no less beautiful than Mu Shi. Unlike the girls of the first grade, she possessed a hint of maturity. She looked to be the same age as He Xiaopeng, about 16 or 17, a young lady in the prime of her youth. In comparison, Ji Yu had average looks. Nothing about her really drew the eyes of others. The most charming thing about her was her cool temperament. For this match, the forging tables remained on the stage. Their flat surfaces would do just as well for design drafting as they would forging. The girl from the second grade glanced at a boy in the audience and flashed a sweet smile at him. The boy nodded in response. That boy was Yuan and Yehue. Xie didn't miss this. He gawked at the two, his mind reeling from the exchange. What's going on? If I didn't know any better, I'd think they were a couple. Satisfied, the girl then turned to Ji Yu. Hello, I'm Bai Hanying from the second grade. Please advise me. First grade's Ji Yu. Shinyi looked between the two girls, then walked to the edge of the platform once more. This designing match will test your reasoning and the quality of your design. You have 30 minutes to design a right gauntlet for a set of battle armor. You can use your old designs. Elder CAI will personally select the winner. A gauntlet? Upon hearing that, the students of the first grade cheered. Tang Wulin's team had crafted his right gauntlet. Considering the relationship between Ji Yu and Tang Wulin, they were certain that she designed it. Since she was capable of creating a design for a piece of one-word battle armor, they believed they had this match in the bag. Graph paper and writing instruments were immediately delivered to the stage and placed on the forging tables. The moment everything was set up, Shinyi cried, "Begin!" With that declaration, the pencils of the two competitors began to dance, the contents of their minds pouring out onto the paper. It was fundamentally impossible to create a design from scratch in just 30 minutes. What this match truly tested was their design fundamentals. Ji Yu didn't draw too quickly or too slowly. Her pencil moved steadily across the paper, never stopping for even a moment. The form of a gauntlet quickly took shape on her paper. On the other side of the stage, Bai Hanying drew much faster, constantly erasing and revising her design. In spite of that, she made quick progress. Soon enough, the 30 allotted minutes ran out. The second they did, Bai Hanying and Ji Yu put their pencils down at practically the same time. The two designs were delivered to Elder CAI. She handed one of them to the Holy Spirit Doluo. The two titled Duluos took a few minutes to inspect the designs and discuss them. Once they came to a consensus, Elder CAI stood up. Ji Yu and Bai Hanying looked up at the platform expectantly. This match is a draw. Elder CAI looked between the two girls. Ji Yu, your design for a one-word gauntlet incorporates spirit alloys and is very comprehensive. It's a practical and effective design. Bai Hanying, your design is much more complicated, and it implemented many advanced theories perfectly. However, the overall design is flawed. If you manage to complete it, you'll have become a 5th-rank designer. Is your design meant for someone with twin martial souls? Bai Hanying nodded. Yes, Elder CAI. Elder CAI continued. In order to perfect your design, you should work together with Ji Yu. You will be able to complement each other and make up for your deficiencies, making it far easier to complete the design. Adding spirit alloys to the design would vastly improve a one-word gauntlet meant for someone with twin martial souls. You would waste a lot of time if you work independently. Bai Hanying turned to look at Guu, a flicker of hesitation in her eyes. Designing battle armor for someone with twin martial souls was already a difficult task. Adding spirit alloys to the design would push it beyond the domain of her current abilities. Feeling Bai Hanying's gaze, Guu turned to look her in the eye. She already understood what the girl's goal was. That design was most likely for Yuan and Yehui. It was in this way that the second match concluded. The first grade now led the competition with 1 win and 1 draw. Guu was over 2 years younger than her opponent, but she was able to bring the match to a draw. This was victory enough for them. Both competitors left the stage. The students in the first grade welcomed Guu back with loud cheers. They had done well in the first 2 matches so far, and this boosted their confidence. However, the first grade suffered a crushing defeat in the third match. Tang Wulin didn't recognize the mecha maker the second grade sent out. He was a 4th rank maker, but the first grade only had the 3rd rank Luo Guixing. The difference between the two clear, and defeat came swiftly. The 4th match, on the other hand, was surprisingly even. Wu Sidua was quite the gifted mechanic, but her opponent was the class president of the 2nd grade, Yuan and Yehui. Yuan and Yehui won by a thin margin in the end, but she knew that she was older than Wu Sidua by a year, so she couldn't feel satisfied by the win. With the conclusion of the 4th match, the 2nd grade had 2 wins, 1 draw, and 1 loss. It seemed as though their victory was certain, but they didn't seem happy at all. Considering the age difference, it became clear that the 2nd grade was actually weaker than the 1st grade. If they did win, it wouldn't be a true victory. This video will end here. Like video and subscribe to my channel.